'Cause you live your life in a coma, you never awake.
Alright, time to wake up. More information on the Castile murder. May not be what everybody thought, and in fact, the girlfriend may have lied. I know that's not what a lot of people want to hear, especially the BLM supporters who like to support him regardless of what horrible things they do. But the way it turns out, as information has surfaced, the actual radio transmissions from that night between the officer and the police precinct prior and during going up to the car. Turns out there was a robbery in the area, and suspect picture had already been released, which was this. Sure looks a hell of a lot like Castile, doesn't it? Now, given that's not the world's greatest picture, you got a cap and shades on and stuff, but you know, it's pretty simple to rob a place and then switch some clothes around real quick. Obviously, that's not what the guy was wearing when he was shot. I'm not quite sure how much time transpired between the two, but the most important part I haven't got to yet. They did have the license plate for the getaway car, because when this robbery occurred, they pursued them out to a parking lot, lost them somewhere out in that lot. The car sped away, but they got the license plate before it vanished. The plate of Castile's car matched. So this officer's rolling up behind a car, calls in a plate, it matches a robbery. Before, he did not immediately do anything, according to the radio call. He kind of somehow got a glance of who was in and said that the driver matched and looked like one of the people. So he said he was going to stop it. And also on the transmissions that are aired, he also stated that he could see a gun on the lap, not a concealed weapon like they were saying. Not that this thing was out laying on his lap, and that was what the guy had reached for. It's a totally different scenario than what the girlfriend portrayed. Also, as of yet, no evidence of an actual CCW permit has even been presented. They can't find one in the system. So the entire thing that she aired on Facebook may have totally been a lie. Now, maybe she knew, maybe she didn't know. 100% possible that her boyfriend could have done something and she didn't know. Maybe she's just scared. Maybe she said some things, not 100% sure whether she was right or wrong. I mean, shit, in that situation, anybody would understand someone being scared. But people reacted. They reacted violently. People do not understand the power of their words. Words inspire, they tear down. They are more powerful than people give them credit for. I mean, hell, you can go to jail, prison for your words. I mean, if you make a threat to somebody on the internet. But here is the image. I will place a link in the description below so that you can look at the full news story. Here is a clip that aired on Fox. There's also footage from Care 11, which is not Fox. It is shoot, I'm not sure which one they're affiliated with, but they're in Lauderdale and in his state. It's not Fort Lauderdale. It's a different Lauderdale. They did state that no employees were injured during the robbery, but they did have a description. They had the picture. There were two men, and they thought that he might, he looked like one of them. The dogs had tracked him out there, and then they lost him, so when the plate matched, they thought, they needed to pull him over, which is reasonable. And
Shepard, there is also police radio traffic recordings floating out there. We've heard them. There is a station here that has aired them, and we've spoken to some law enforcement that say they seem to sound and be authentic. Recordings indicate that the officer initially pulled Castile over because he fit the description of a wanted robbery suspect in the area.
Now, that right there is 100% reasonable and 100% different than what she tried showing people on Facebook. Never occurred to anybody that this whole Facebook thing might have been some kind of game to try and get her own butt out of trouble.
And that Castile's gun was visible on his lap from the get-go. So we are trying to independently confirm all of this information
Visible
right now,
on his
Shepard. But
lap.
of course, that would certainly change
hidden away,
everything we've
concealed.
heard so far.
But so that I understand what you're saying, Matt, from this radio traffic, and I get the qualifications that we can't confirm every little thing, but from the radio traffic, it sounded like the cop had come to the vehicle and immediately notified headquarters. I see a gun in his lap now. That came from the beginning, you're saying?
There's radio traffic recordings out there that the officer let dispatch know he was pulling that couple over, including the young girl in the background, because Castile, the driver, fit the suspect, the description of a suspect that was wanted for a robbery in the area. Then,
now, on that note, people wondered in this video why that officer was so nervous. Well, I mean, these guys just committed an armed robbery, and whether he was right in suspecting that it might be him or not, he's walking up on a car that the plate matched. So, and he's naturally going to be nervous. He knows they're armed. They already had a gun, and then he sees a gun in the lap. The rest is pretty fucking obvious. She said, oh, he was just reaching for his stuff. Well, if he had a gun in his lap and he's wanted for a fucking robbery, it's pretty obvious why the cop freaked out. I mean, none of us were there. We didn't see the actual thing, but I mean, if his hand goes anywhere near a gun, with this situation, you could see why it happened. And it's 100% different than what people were told to begin with.
the officer approached the car. If you look at that Facebook video that we've all seen over and over again, there's an image out there that appears, and again, we cannot independently confirm this, but there's an image out there that appears to show what might be the...
Now, right here in this image that they're showing, obviously you can't see the gun. But if you go back and review the Facebook video at this point, where it's not covered up by their logo, because the reporters kind of screwed up here and they got all their friggin' logos in the way. But I do recall what he's saying. There is a spot where you can see his lap and you can see that there is something there. I didn't really look at it that hard when I watched it the first time. But knowing this now, go back and review that and look for yourself and decide, do you think that's a gun or not?
Gun on Castile's lap. And now the officer is saying he was responding, or he shot Castile because of a visible gun, not because of race. And of course, the girlfriend has said all along that Castile immediately let police know that he had a pistol and that he had a license to carry. But in one of the pressers that I heard later on, she ended up saying, I had to scream and let officers know that he had a license to carry. So there is a gray area there, and of course we've heard the officer say now that, and we've heard him say, we heard him say in the recording, I told him not to touch it. So.
And that's where that clip ended. But I'm sure there's more information out there if you want to dig it up. But either way, apparently her statements are starting to contradict themselves, and they can find no evidence of the CCW permit. The entire situation is different. And unfortunately, before having all the information or before giving officers or anybody time to do their jobs, we have people that did what they did in Dallas. Hopefully, the truth will come out, and hopefully people will learn within that movement not to make rash choices, although it seems to me they don't want to see anybody doing wrong, even when they do wrong. Even when they do something, they make up excuses as to why it wasn't their fault. Even if they were in the middle of committing a crime, if somebody tried to stop them, it's still the other guy's fault. Some big boogeyman made them do the crime, or it's just not their fault no matter what. And that attitude and that BS has got to stop. People got to be responsible for what they do. But anyways, I found this. I wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. I'll place links in the description and let you all check it out and see what else you might be able to find out there. So, I hope you're doing well. I hope you all stay safe. And thank you for watching Crush 'em TV, and please remember to subscribe.